So Brian, welcome to Life in Six Strings. Your background looks pretty amazing. It looks like you've put up like some sort of green screen. It doesn't look real. It looks too nice. Where are you?
It's real. It is real. I'm in Palm Springs, California, in the desert in Southern California. It's literally 8 minutes away from where it's not the desert. So it's really just the edge of what becomes a couple of states of desert. Because from here, of course, you go to Arizona and, of course, Nevada, where it's desert. So this is the very beginning of the desert. It's a really cool town that features a lot of mid-century architecture, people who are car aficionados. So there's a lot of classic cars. There's a lot of music people, film people, television people out here. And I mean, people that actually look like a television. It's so strange. No, I mean, you have a lot of people in the music biz out here and the film biz.
When I first went to LA, which was quite, wow, when was it? Like 2009 or something like that. One of the places that I went to was Palm Springs, and I just fell in love with the place. And it is, like you say, because of the sort of mid-century architecture. There's that cool restaurant that used to be some Hollywood actor's house, like some classic Hollywood actor. I can't remember whose house it is, a restaurant it is now, and whose house it used to be. But no, I love it. It's a great place to be.
I'm not sure, but I want to go there now. So please let me know when you figure it out.
Have you not been? Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe I have, but not by that description.
God, I can't remember whose house it was. But yeah, they turned it into a restaurant. It was so cool. But I stayed at the Parker when I went. So I love that
Fun.
place. Super cool
Yeah,
place.
that could be fun. Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, it's a cool place. And I was watching your collection. You were showing off your collection online, and two things that I noticed: one, that you have an absolutely insane guitar collection, and secondly, you have a Les Paul swimming pool.
I do. Yeah. Guilty as charged. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, thank you for watching that, by the way. I've never watched the whole thing. I don't go looking for my stuff,
No,
It's so,
I get that.
I mean, I'm sorry, it's just weird for me. But anyway, so I bought this house 4 years ago as a kind of just a getaway pad because there's 4 or 5 months out of the year where it's just too hot to be here.
Yeah.
But other times of the year, it's ideal. Like right now, it's 74 and sunny and gorgeous, where it starts getting really cold out where I live most of the time. Anyway, so I buy this place. It needs a lot of work, and it's got kind of a small backyard with hedges all around it, very old hedges. And it had a small pool, but too small for my taste. So first of all, we cleared out the hedges and found out I actually have quite a bit more yard than I knew, which made the pool even more comically, inappropriate. So I said, okay, we got to do another pool. We got to do a new pool. I didn't want to, but here we are. And then you think, okay, so what about a custom pool? And then my architect drawer guy said, well, here's the thing. If you do an infinity pool or a half infinity pool, that becomes a retaining wall, and you can grow your yard by like 15, 20 feet. So
Yeah.
you can push out, you can get more yard. So that's what we did. And then I thought, okay, why not do something? If you're going to do a custom pool, why not go nuts? And,
Yeah.
it costs a little bit more money, but who cares? It's like over time, it's just something that makes me feel good. It makes me smile.
It's a cool feature, and it makes sense given that obviously you're a guitarist. So, makes perfect sense, really. So I want to get into, there's a lot to talk about with you, because obviously the people that you've worked with, like Paul McCartney and stuff like that. But then you've got your solo career, and I know you've got a record coming out, or a track coming out very soon. But I kind of want to start at the beginning of how you started playing, how you started this, or this great love affair with the guitar.
Well, yeah, thanks for the question. I mean, I'm not like, unlike any other kids of my generation, I'm a little bit older now. And so when I was 2 or 3, all of the great, pioneers of rock and roll were just coming on. So as a little kid, And I was lucky enough to have a half sister who was 15 years older than me. So now she's in high school as I'm a 2 and 3-year-old, right?
Yeah.
And like every other teenager in high school, they were nuts for the Everly Brothers, Little Richard, Chuck Berry, Elvis Presley, Jerry Lee Lewis. So all those pioneers of rock and roll, it's all that was going on, you know. And I'm so lucky. She only lived with my family, half sister, only lived with us for 1 year. But that 1 year, I was 3 years old, and she was feeding me rock and roll. And I was like, I could barely, speak. I've been speaking for a year in my life. And here I was getting indoctrinated, and I say that in a nice sense, into what became my lifelong dream and obsession. I knew as soon as I heard Elvis and Scotty Moore's guitar solos on Heartbreak Hotel, and all of the great playing that was going on all those early records. As soon as I heard that stuff, well, first I wanted to be a rock and roller from age 3, but then specifically guitar kind of turned me on, because all those great early records had a lot of guitar solos, Chuck Berry,
Yeah.
all that stuff, So that was it for me. I was sold on it, and my love affair with music just grew from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? It's sometimes you just like the right, it's the right place, right time kind of thing. And you had your sister that was I've heard you talk about her before, Jean, and like she's clearly was such a huge influence on you, and that 15 years difference made like age gap made such a huge difference, as in like it was an important age gap, because she was, like you say, getting into all the cool stuff, but was kind
Yeah.
of older to be able to steer you in the right direction and stuff. I like that. So what was your first guitar? Because I know your sister was a musician, but it seems to me like your parents were quite open-minded, which I'm guessing a lot of parents weren't at that time. I mean, what sort of year are we talking? So we're talking early 60s, mid 60s, that type of era.
That's right. Early 60s. So my parents were a bit musical, and they
Okay.
were open-minded in that they were West Coast people. And that probably, that kind of is an environment of a little bit more open-mindedness about some of these things, more so than, say, being in the South, because of course the South called this devil's music. So if I was raised in Alabama, or, well, not to call out Alabama, but some of these southern states, they were burning records back then. So I did sort of benefit from having been born and raised in California. Anyway, Jean, my half sister, loved rock and roll, but she didn't play rock and roll. She joined with her husband, her then boyfriend and soon to be husband, in a folk rock duet called Jim and Jean.
Mm-hmm.
And they did beautiful folk music that soon became folk rock music. About the time the Beatles came out, you started to hear like fuzz bass on a folk rock song, and it turned into something else. But anyway, at age 2 and 3, like I had a little transistor radio, and I would take in pirate radio coming out of Tijuana, Mexico, at a great power and volume on my little transistor radio late at night under the covers, like listening, and it was this crazy DJ who had a wolf call for his sign off, and it was Wolfman Jack, way before he was known by anybody. And so now I was further infatuated. My first guitar was purchased by Jim and Jean in Tijuana, Mexico for $5 coming over the border. Like people walking up to the car, you want to buy this, marionette? Oh, you want to buy a guitar? How about some maracas? And she brought home a guitar, and, I honestly, I cried. I was just so, I had my own guitar, and it wasn't a great guitar, but it was mine.
Yeah, that's amazing. And do you still have that guitar?
I wish I did. I loaned it to somebody like a knucklehead, and I don't have it. Yeah.
Damn,
I would love to find it.
So how did you learn? Were you self-taught, or did you have lessons?
I was self-taught. I just listened to the music that moved me. And rock and roll is a fairly clean, clear, simple art form. It's like 5 chords in a dream, you know? And so I just kind of dug into it. I, was 8 years old when the British invasion just started to trickle over and the tide started to rise from, these great bands who were actually just mirroring back to the US
Yeah.
what we'd already given them with the pioneers of rock and roll that I was already into. So here come the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the Animals, and the Kinks and the Who. And here comes this whole wave of music. And the first song I learned on that little guitar was Gloria, Gloria, by Them, the band called Them, with Van Morrison singing lead.
Yeah.
And it was such a powerful record, such a great, evocative, exciting rock and roll record. And it only had 3 chords. So, it was like learning those 3 guitar chords in succession correctly, and then switching between them in time. It was, it took me, a couple of days to get that fluid. And then I was off to the races. I mean, 3 chords is a really good start in rock and roll.
That's an amazing start. And it's funny that you mentioned that song because Adrian Vandenberg showed me how to play that on this series as well. And it is just those 3 chords, and you can just go boom, boom, boom. You just go through the 3 and you can get faster and faster with it. You just have fun with it, can't you? It's great. It's a great
That's
song.
right. And then if you listen to it, every chord he jumps off of it on an upstroke. He'll go I
didn't know that.
You hear the open strings between the chord changes. So when you're new, that gives you a grace moment to be able to do that. Every chord he plays an upstroke on the open guitar strings.
Oh, I didn't know that's what he was doing.
Check it out. Anyway, that was the start
give you a
for
grace
me.
moment. Yeah.
That was the start for me, and I just kind of kept rolling, and then I started listening to Peter Green and Jeff Beck and Eric Clapton and all those early guys. And then that led me back to the guys who they were copying.
Yeah.
So I got into, B.B. King, and I got into all of these great artists that they listened to, And so I got, so funny, I got American blues music from British blues players. Then it turned me on to our own music, which you guys are copying. Yeah, again. Oh,
what was that?
I said, so I learned our American blues music from you guys, which you copied from us. And then I jokingly said, copying again.
Oh, right. Okay. Got you. Yeah. I know. We turned you back onto your own music. I love that. I always feel like quite proud that we did that.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Because, it's the same with our jazz music, which is huge in Japan and in France and in Italy, but we don't care about it like we used to. It's a strange thing. So yeah, thank you for showing us who we were.
You're welcome. So then I heard that when you were 15, then you started, gigging. You got with your was it with your sister that you did your first gig or something at 15?
Yeah, she was nice enough to let me tag along. I was just a little greenhorn and played like the Troubadour Club in West Hollywood, which is kind of well-known club, and they had what was called a hoot night on Monday nights, and I played with her there. And the other artists that were on that night were turned out to be kind of famous. They turned into that band Oingo Boingo. So I got to meet some of these people who were becoming big themselves. And as a 15-year-old, you're kind of impressionable, but it's kind of key that you are kind of seen as acceptable by your elders in a way. So no one said, what the hell is this kid doing here? He is not ready. No one said that. Everyone said, hey, welcome, come on, hang out. And it just made me feel like I could continue,
It's amazing. Yeah, I guess when you're that age, you just sort of take it all in your stride. It's like, okay, yeah, I'll just hang out with these guys. Why not?
Yeah.
What an extraordinary break. And then obviously, then you start working with Etta James.
Yeah.
Like,
well, there was something in between there. I got my first professional gig was playing with Bobby Boris Pickett, who did the Monster Mash.
Yes.
And that band happened to be put together around my high school band, and also featured Jean, my sister, on background vocals with two other women. So it was kind of an ideal place to start because it married my high school rock band. It did covers
Yeah.
and some originals with my sister, with a front man who was very entertaining, Bobby Boris Pickett. And we did the mash, the Monster Mash.
I love that song. It's like literally I play it non-stop at Halloween. I love it.
It's so good.
Okay, so then you're playing with Etta, and what was she like to work with?
Well, yeah. So the guy who was I met this road manager named Phil Kaufman when Bobby Boris Pickett played a fundraiser for this guy, Phil Kaufman. He's I'll let your viewers, if they're interested, if they're still with us, go look him up, Phil Kaufman.
Yeah. Okay.
And he was road managing Etta James. And he simply said, hey, this, new friendship with Phil Kaufman. He said, I road manage Etta James, and she's doing a jam tomorrow, a little rehearsal. The guitar player can't make it. Why don't you grab your Les Paul and come with me? And I did. I didn't know if she'd say plug in and play or what was going to happen, but I had my guitar. I was ready, and I did plug in and play. And I'm, here with my elders. I'm 18 years old, and there's some really good players. I'd just seen them play live with her, so I was kind of impressed, and a little bit over my head, but I just jamming along and playing and had a good time. That was the kind of music I love, rhythm and blues music.
Hmm.
And she was so kind and generous and warm and sang so great. And at the end of it, she said, I like that little white kid, and asked if I would like to come and play a show with her the next night in Long Beach. We did that. I was like, holy mackerel, that just happened. And then I didn't hear from her for months. And then she called me one day and asked if I could be up at a club in about an hour and a half away in about an hour and a half. And I said yes. And I stuffed my amp and my guitar in my car and got up there. And that was the beginning of what became 15 years with her, and a lot longer with records.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
18 years old. Can you remember what you played?
God, at the first rehearsal, gosh, we probably just played blues and blues shuffles and maybe a funk song like Real Mother for Ya, which is a song by Johnny Guitar Watson. I remember that one, and a couple of other ones, just blues, just something to get going with. And
Yeah.
then she told me some songs to learn, and I learned them the next day and showed up and played them. And she called me back.
And so when you, so okay, so you were fine, but did you know her catalog at that point? Because I guess at that point in her life, she'd had obviously this amazing career, and then this was kind of a comeback, wasn't it, a little bit?
It was her comeback. Yeah. I mean, she had been struggling with drug addiction. So
Yeah.
now she was ready to go and repair a career that she'd kind of screwed up, to be honest with you. As you do when you're addicted to drugs, you make bad decisions and you make mistakes. And so she had a lot to prove. People were a little bit burnt out on her. So we're talking 1974.
Wow.
It's quite a while ago. But anyway, she was rebuilding her career, and I was a part of that rebuild. She trusted me. I was available. I was young and ready to go.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to give her any crap. I was like, yeah, I'll go there. I was like, just a rube. I was just young, and she liked me, and I loved her. So we got very, very close, and it was a big deal for me. And I owe everything to her, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Did you know that you were good at that point? I mean, did you have confidence in yourself? You must have had a certain swagger to be able to just go in there and do that with someone that huge, with that talent.
I guess, only to the degree that I had a local high school band that was doing well, and we were quite popular. But
Yeah.
that's true of a million people all over the world in their high school band. So in my mind, I was pretty good, but in the real picture, I was totally green and
Yeah.
didn't know what I was doing. But she saw something in me, I guess, and I think it was the commonalities of the music that informed me. Like I was intensely into those guys like Peter Green and Jeff Beck. And not that I ever mirrored them. I never even really learned all their solos. It's just that it was in my bloodstream. And I think she just responded to that maybe. So I was just lucky. And her music wasn't too complicated, but she did have some jazz pop ballads to learn, like At Last, Sunday Kind of Love, Trust in Me, My Dearest Darling, All I Could Do Is Cry. Now, these have more chords than Gloria had. So I did have to, study it. And I got together with a guitar player who said, oh, you might want to play this inversion. You might want to try this. And I was like, oh, great. So, I was her musical director before I even really knew all the ropes. I was given that role because I was the willing, energetic young one who would say yes to almost anything. I was a big sucker. What can I say?
Maybe no. I mean, you clearly, obviously, extremely talented. You're an amazing player. So she obviously saw that, which is amazing. But what was she like? I mean, like you say, she'd come off the drugs and stuff. Was she difficult to work with at all?
Well, Etta James was lovely to
Yeah.
me and lovely to the people that she loved. And if somebody crossed her, she was ferocious.
Right.
And I would say that Etta, much like all sorts of Black rhythm and blues and rock and roll musicians and artists of that time, were highly suspicious of people because they got screwed over.
Yeah.
She got screwed over. And she also screwed herself over with drugs, but she got taken advantage of by white guys. So, it's just part of the American story, part of the American legacy.
Yeah.
And it may be hard for people to understand in other countries, like, oh, why doesn't everyone just hug it out? Well, we have a tough history. And you really got to see that with her. Like, there was a little bit of that sort of trepidation with her and suspicion that could come out. But in general, amazing person, lovely, so smart, so perceptive.
Yeah.
Very trusting of the people she loves and a little bit wary of people she didn't know.
Yeah. And like you say, it makes sense given the history and everything else and how she'd been treated in the past. So
Yeah.
that makes sense. It does. So let's fast forward a bit to I guess he's your current boss, is he? Let's call him your boss. You've worked with him for quite a 17, 18, maybe 20 years. Have you worked with Paul
Paul,
McCartney about 20 years?
20 years now into, I guess, what you would say is our 21st year. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yes, you could call him my boss. I mean, he's more than that. I mean, he's just like, I say to people, they say, oh, what a great gig. And like, gig isn't a big enough word for what happened to us as individuals and as a band. It's a life-changing event for us, and we're the same four guys behind him that have been there for 20 and a half years here.
Yeah.
And then we just recently ordered added some lovely Brit horn players. So now there's 7 of us behind him. And, we couldn't be happier as a band to have done this, but it really is about him and his trust of us and keeping us. And because obviously Paul is someone who has great taste, immense talent, and could have anyone that he wants. And the fact that he continued to call us back and still does is just, it's very touching to me. I'm super grateful for that. And he's just a great leader, an inspiring cat, so musical. Whatever you think, you suspect he would be, it's times 10 in terms of how he embodies music 24/7. It's just, he is music. And it's really inspiring to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I always wonder, like, is he, because you see things and you hear things and you listen to the music and you're like, is he really that talented?
Oh,
But
really?
yeah, Is
There's
he?
a part of you that questions if Paul McCartney is really that
Okay,
talented.
you do just like, how is it possible that there's like, how?
Oh,
And
I see. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, we joke like I would check to see if he actually has a navel because he might not be from this planet,
you've witnessed.
He is very much from this planet, but I don't know. I don't mean to heap praises. He doesn't need my extra praises, but it's just true. You're asking about him. I can't think of another human who was given so much talent in one person. And you think about insane singer,
Mm,
right? Sing something so lyrical and tender like Yesterday or My Love,
yeah.
and then turn around and scorch your eyebrows off with Helter Skelter, like back to back in the same show. So you got that, the voice. Then you got the guy who wrote them, and then you got the guy who arranged them, and then you got the guy who came up with all of the musical ideas and the sonic ear candy,
Mm.
and then he's a visual artist, and then he's a band leader, and then he's also a really nice guy. So it's just a lot. It's a lot to take in. You just go like, this can't be real. This
No,
got
I
to be
know.
something wrong. Is he doing cocaine in the back? I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know.
he's not
You
this
don't
perfect,
know.
surely. Yeah.
Yeah, he can't be perfect. But you know what? And then on top of that, he's a family man. So anyway, that's my pitch for this guy named Paul McCartney. I mean, you just make up
Never
your
heard
own.
of him. Don't know who you're talking about.
That's my that's my pitch.
So because obviously, like you say, you play with him live, but you played with him on records as well. So what's the creative process like when you're with him? You walk into the studio. How does it work?
Well, it's different in different circumstances, but usually we'll take the biggest room in a professional big studio, and he will bring down his people, and he will bring down every keyboard that he might want to go play. So you've got an upright piano, you've got a grand piano, you've got a Fender Rhodes piano, you've got a Wurlitzer piano, you've got 2 or 3 different kinds of synths, and you've got an acoustic guitar, you've got an electric guitar, you've got a bass, and you've got a bunch of those. And they're all set up and mic'd and ready to go because he might want to play piano and then jump over to acoustic guitar back to back, and you got to be ready. And because he works in sort of in his own fashion, he's going to go and play and record an idea that just came to his mind in that moment. So it requires everyone to be on their toes. And then in as far as it affects the band, we're there to serve at his pleasure as a paintbrush on the palette. He'll use this if he wants to. He doesn't need any of us. He can do anything that he's looking for himself. But he generously has us do stuff sometimes. So sometimes we'll play on a whole basic track as a band. Sometimes we'll just do a guitar overdub or a dulcimer or a solo. And there will be some waiting because he wants all those paintbrushes to be ready, just like all the instruments to be ready. But hey, man, who would you rather be waiting for, Paul McCartney or some rando? It's just like, it's so fun. Yeah. And his ideas are so cool. So all of us just go like, we're always like going, wow, wow, because he's just good. And then his harmony and melodic sense is so strong that you see him build, harmonies for a big vocal sections. Let's say we're all going to sing on, and he can hear stuff like he knows exactly what he wants. He's he's something very special, that guy.
Yeah, and then of course you obviously you play the guitar, but then when he jumps on the piano and stuff, that's when you take over on the bass parts sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, which is another big honor because, I think of him as being the most important and consequential bass player in popular music and rock music.
Yeah.
Like James Jamerson was for Motown and for soul music, Paul is to rock and pop. There's no question. People will say this guy and that guy. It's just like, and then there's Paul McCartney. You know what I mean?
He's number one. He is number one in a way, you know, like
The number one
sure.
bass concept ever and playing. But what you're surprised by really is that his time and his feel are so damn good. Like I've never heard him rush one note ever in 20 years. He's not a guy who will ever get ahead of anything. He's on everything. It's tremendous. I don't know what that is, because that's usually something that would be more associated with, you know, soul players and blues players and stuff like that. Got something about what he was born with. He was born with something very, a very special gift. Yeah.
And have you ever played his bass?
Well, you know, I
Did he let
haven't.
you touch it?
Yeah, I have. But where did you go? Sorry.
I'm here.
There you are. Hold on. Don't go away. There you are.
Okay.
Oh, well, so it's a left-handed bass, and I just awkward at picking up a left-handed bass. And so I've only touched it to feel like the action and what it's like and stuff like that. But of course it's this way.
Yeah.
And so, but he's good. He can play a bit of guitar strung normally too. Like he'll pick up a normal guitar and kick out a couple chords. But it's the bass. It's the bass he played on Ed Sullivan, you know.
Wow.
It's the one. He's got some backups as well, but there it is. He's throwing it around on stage like it's brand new and he doesn't care. I'm like, oh God, here it goes again. But
how much that bass is worth? I mean,
well, I don't know. What do you think? It's incalculable. I don't think there is a price.
it's priceless. Yeah. Wow, that's insane.
Yeah.
Okay, so amongst doing all of that, you've worked, you know, you've got a solo career as well. So you've got a new track coming out today. So tell me a little bit about it.
Oh, yeah, thanks. So some years ago, I was approached by Steven Van Zandt, Little Steven, from Bruce Springsteen's band and from the Sopranos and stuff like that. And he has his own record label called Wicked Cool Records, and he has his own radio station called the Underground Garage at Sirius XM. And that radio station is affiliated all over the world on terrestrial radio. So like not satellite, like standard radio that you tune in with a dial. And is in 180 countries, you know, around the world, and 170 markets in the US terrestrial. So he gets a lot of spins. Each one of those plays his programs, you know, whether they're an hour a day or something like that. But anyway, that's just a little background. He's a real music lover, and he's a great A&R man. So he approached me after, well, what it was, I came up with a little side band called the Bayonets. And I was going to put out a single every 8 weeks with my buddy Oliver Lieber, son of Jerry Lieber and Stoller. And we were just going to put it out for fun and for free, something to do. We're both busy guys. We wanted to do this project. So we put out a single on Valentine's Day, 2012 or something like that. And I just put it out on Twitter, you know, and it's a funny video that goes with it. And I get a message from Maureen Van Zandt, Little Steven's wife, the next day, like the day after Valentine's Day, saying, I played your track for Steven. He loves this track. Can he email you? And I said, God, of course. You know, I've always thought that that was the coolest sounding record label. And I was a big fan of his taste in music, garage. I love that 64 to 67, that window of exuberance and rebellion that was going on. And this is funny, like garage music is really Americans playing their version of the British invasion stuff, which is a version of our stuff. So it's kind of ping-ponging back and forth. That's my take on it. Anyway, so Little Steven says, I love this record. It was called Sucker for Love. And yes, we were first. Sucker for Love. And we we're putting it out. And he says, why don't you slow your roll on this? Don't put one out every 7 weeks, because I love this. I want to hear more of it. I'm going to do an edit of this single. You can use it or not, but I'm playing it on my station. It's going to be on there. And I'm like, my God, it was like the coolest email ever. And he didn't know who or what it was. He just says, who is this? What is this? How much of it is there? And, I just reintroduced myself, as a guy he'd met at backstage at Paul's. Anyway, he got really behind us. Okay, so that went really well for a number of years. That one album, a lot of action on Underground Garage. And later on, when Oliver and I went our separate ways to do other projects, they approached me and said, would you like to do a singles deal and solo single deal at Wicked Cool Records? And I said yes. And so now, gosh, I've done 10 of them. And they approached me to do a sort of a compilation, like a greatest hits thing. And this is my last standalone vinyl single before we enter into a greatest hits package a little while. So this is a new song. It's called On My Way to You. And as you said, it's coming out tonight.
Yeah. And so it's a Brian Ray single. It's not the Bayonets.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, great. Brilliant. And so you wrote the song yourself, and you're obviously playing guitar on it and singing it.
All of that stuff. Yeah, I wrote it and sang it, and she produced it, and some friends of mine played on it. Abe Laboriel Jr. is on drums, played great. And let me see, Davey Farragher plays bass on it from Elvis Costello's band. Scott Schreiner sang a bunch on it, as did Davey Farragher and Scott Schreiner. So it's just my buddies,
Yeah, it's great. It's great that you get to do this, that you get to kind of put your own music out there as well as all the other stuff that you do. And you must still enjoy it. I mean, how do you keep that fire in your belly after all these years?
Good question. I'm not sure, Kylie. I mean, to be honest with you, it's just like the same fire that I felt as a little kid when I heard Little Richard scream.
Is it?
It's still like I still get lit up by the energy of rock and roll, which has an element of sort of forbidden fruit, danger, fun, and sex. That's rock and roll. It's danger and sex, and so it's still an exciting art form to me, even though it's sort of like, it's not the insiders playing rock and roll anymore. Now we're back on the outside again, looking into the music biz.
Yeah.
Music business turned around, but guess what? There's a lot of very good rock all around the edges.
And
we're out there.
Do you like the new stuff? Are you listening to new music with new artists, or do you love the classics? And
yeah, I sure do. I listen to the Underground Garage, who play a lot of newer bands, but they're often playing music that calls up another time.
Yeah.
It's just what I like and what I'm familiar with. But there are bands and songs that come up that I love, I will go and love a new Harry Styles single because I'm into the art and the craft of pop songwriting and record making. I have a great deal. Sorry, now someone's doing a leaf blower right out here. Very low. Hang on, just to prove that this is not, in fact, a green screen.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, can we see the pool? Is the pool there?
Oh yeah, I'll show you my pool. You show me yours.
Oh, shut up.
Oh, shut up. You're not seeing I like it. Hang on.
Oh, you are very naughty. You know full well we don't have pools. Well, we do. We have puddles. That's what we have here, not pools. Puddles.
You have ponds.
Ponds.
And ducks.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll show you because you asked.
Okay, cool.
I had just put out some cushions around what is the jacuzzi, like the headstock.
Yeah.
Are you there?
I'm here, yeah.
Okay, I just thought I dropped you. Anyway, I put some cushions around the headstock that kind of look like guitar tuners. So it's completely over the top now. It's like ridiculous. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Look at that.
All right. You sure you're ready? Are you ready? Okay.
Reveal. Oh my God. That is insane, Brian. Oh my God. Look at that. So that's the jacuzzi. I love it. And look, that is so cool. With the little cushions. That is such a great idea. And
So
it
sick.
says, Les Pool.
Right.
Brilliant.
Yeah. This is my little getaway.
What a
Oh, I
guest.
have clouds. Wow, I have clouds.
Oh,
Yeah. And I have a view of the lovely, lovely desert. Look how pretty.
that is so pretty. I love Palm Springs.
Strange trees, palms,
Yeah,
a
and you're right.
road runner.
You're really close to Pioneer Town as well, which is super cool, isn't it? That weird kind of, you've got Pappy and Harriet's. Is that what it's called? Pappy and Harriet's, and then it's
Yeah.
this kind of Western city that was left behind from the movies. It's so cool.
Yeah.
So it's a cool part of California.
It is indeed, and it's strange. It's not for everybody. It's super dry. Like you start feeling like, oh my God, my skin's gonna crack off of my face. But it's really lovely. I love it. It's quiet, no one's bugging you. And there's a lot of social life if you want it. Like there's a party all the time if you want or not. And
Yeah.
then, like I said, there's cool cars and architecture and musicians and stuff. So it's really cool.
I think I spotted a cool car there as well. Is that a little red convertible?
Ah, yeah. There's all sorts of fun cars out here.
Oh yeah. See, there we go. You've got it all. You've got it all. So, and then home, you've got another place in LA as well. So you split your time between the two when you're not on tour. Okay. Nice.
Yeah. And I, hang out with my son, James, who's now 11, and his brother, John, and love them to bits. And they were with me recently for my little fundraiser out here. And I just, try and do the things that are helpful and try to enjoy, life as best I can and try and move through the drama as best I can, because there's always drama.
That's life, as they say.
What about you? Now it's your interview.
No, don't interview me. I hate it. Go on then. You ask me. What would you like?
What are you doing for the rest of your now evening?
I'm going to have dinner in a bit.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of it. I've not been up to too much because obviously I've been sick with the old Rona, shall we say. So, yeah, so nothing.
Do you have animals? Do you have a little doggy or a little cat?
I've got a very cute little dog. She's about.
Let's see her get the dog.
You really want me to go and get my dog? Okay.
Yes.
Go and grab it.
People deserve to see your doggy.
Okay, we'll go and get her. Where is she?
All right, good.
She's downstairs, so I'll go and grab her.
Oh wow, she's got a 2-story place, you guys. Back to Kylie.
Are you ready?
I'm so ready. Oh my God. It's what was that little,
she's a multi-poo.
Oh, hi, multi-poo. Looks like what was it? Teddy Ruxton, the little teddy bear from back in the day that every kid had. Little brown teddy bear.
She's really scruffy because she.
I love her scruffiness. Look at her puffy ears. Oh, what's her name?
Luna.
Hi, Luna. Don't be scared, Luna. I'm friendly. Hi, Luna. Hi, Luna. Hi, Luna. Hi, Luna. She said, please put me down. You're objectifying me.
She loves
Hi, Luna.
She'll do it.
Oh, Luna. Oh, hold her like a little baby.
Yeah. Luna, come on. We can say hi.
Oh, she's just nervous. She's not familiar. You're sharing her, and she wants you all to herself. Now she's checking it out. Hi, Luna.
Now she's going to go sleep. Look, she's so funny.
Hi, Luna.
Look at that.
Hi, Luna. You can go sleepy bye. Go sleep, Luna. Very, very cute. Yes. Very good girl. I want a dog so badly, Kylie, but it's really hard to leave town and look at a face of a dog going, yeah, it just breaks your heart. I hate it. I'm not going to do it again. I did it before, and I was able to stitch it together with friends and family, but I'm not going to do it again. Not now.
No, it's quite a commitment, isn't it? Having a dog just with that. And especially if you're on tour the whole time and stuff, it's hard.
It is. It's a lot.